Did anyone else grow up flipping pancakes on a Tuesday and just never question it? Like, why Tuesday? Why pancakes? I mean, it's one of the few traditions that we've actually kind of kept alive. Maybe by accident, maybe by sugar and lemon, but it's still here. But it's just a hollow act now because we know the act, but we just have forgotten the meaning. I don't think this is just about Pancake Day. I think that's about modern Britain in a nutshell. We hold on to the ritual, but we let go of the story. Now, before I dive into the second episode of Britain's Forgotten Traditions, let me just clear something up because when I describe these traditions or holidays as forgotten or abandoned, I don't mean that no one celebrates them. I know that there are families, churches, schools, and communities who have kept these traditions alive, and that is incredible. They should be celebrated. But I also know that some of us, myself included, never knew the meaning behind them. This series isn't about pretending that these festivals are extinct. It's here for any of us who want to be a part of them, remember them, and the context of these holidays, which shaped these four incredible countries. Someone left this comment on my last episode in this series, saying that people who kept these traditions going were often mocked, and they are completely right. And thank you so much for your comment, but also thank you for all of the comments. I loved reading about whether you celebrate these days or whether you know anything about the origins or not. So thank you, thank you, thank you. That was so wonderful to read because I do think that we have built a culture where engaging with British ritual is seen as cringe, like it's just a cosplay for cottagecore girls or niche historical reenactors. I think we're so lucky to have these traditions. And in this algorithm heavy, spiritually thin world, it's wonderful to remember something real, something that anchors us, that tethers us back to this country in a way that isn't just depressing politics, retail parks, sad headlines, and cultural confusions. And that is why this is a part of my channel, even though I'm not a history channel, because I do think you cannot comment on the culture of Britain now if you don't understand the country we once were. And I do believe that a culture of negativity about Britain has been allowed to breed, where British history is either weaponized, sanitized, or treated like the only option we have is to condemn it and perform emotional self flagellation. No country is perfect, and the past isn't some golden utopia. So whether you celebrate all of these holidays, none of them, or just vaguely kind of remember them from grandparents or school assemblies, this episode is about reviving the heart behind them. We're living in a time that feels incredibly hollow, and I think more and more of us are craving something real. And today I want to explore what used to be a sacred little stretch of late winter, a season of quiet rituals and soft spiritual resets. This was a season about finding stillness before spring truly began. In my last video in this series, I already covered the romantic season, and that includes St. Bridget's Day, Valentine's Day, and Lupercalia, all of which do happen in the month of February, so these won't be covered in this episode. I'm going to be continuing with something quieter. Candlemas was on February 2nd, and it was once one of the holiest days in Christendom. 40 days after Christ's birth, it marked the ritual purification of Mary and the formal presentation of Jesus at the temple. But it wasn't just theology for Britain, it was lived ritual. You'd bless your household candles for the year. You'd proceed through the village. You'd pray for spring to come. It was part prayer, part weather forecast. If Candlemas Day be fair and bright, winter will have another flight. But if Candlemas Day brings cloud and rain, winter is gone and won't come again. I mean, isn't that just so British? That we live in a country so obsessed with weather that we gave it its own liturgy. But also, and perhaps more charmingly, on February 2nd, we also celebrated Hedgehog Day, a part of Britain's folk calendar since Roman times, which honestly just gives me a wonderful excuse to flood this next part with adorable B-roll of hedgehogs. An adorable, pricklier cousin to Groundhog Day, but ours came first. Farmers believed that if the hedgehog emerged and saw its own shadow, it meant 6 more weeks of winter. It was rural weather watching with a side of divination from Britain's own pint-sized prophet. And personally, I just think that's how all weather watching should be conducted from now on. And then after the physical storms came the emotional storm, Shrovetide. And it's not just Pancake Day, it's a mini festival season at the end of winter full of eggs, chaos, fat, and emotional meal prepping before Lent. We begin with Shrove Saturday, this year on February 14th, which was basically domestic prep day. You'd clean the pantry, tidy the house, and start preparing your soul for confession. Then, on Shrove Sunday, February 15th this year, also known as Egg Sunday, especially in parts of the north, it was the day when manor lords would gift eggs to tenants and children would go egg begging from door to door. Then came Collop Monday, February 16th. You'd fry up your collops, slices of salted meat with eggs, using up all of the indulgent foods before Lent. So it was basically a spiritual fry up. So if anyone judges you for your bacon, you just tell them it's a liturgical act. And then finally, Shrove Tuesday, Mardi Gras, Fat Tuesday. And unlike a lot of other European countries who turned Fat Tuesday into carnivals with feathers and floats, we did what any self-respecting island nation should do. We fried it all together and created Pancake Day. You used up your flour, egg, sugar, and milk, the things that you'd be giving up. But now let me just clear something up. British pancakes aren't crepes. They're crepe adjacent, sure. They're thin, eggy, and flippable, but they're a bit thicker, they're more rustic, and they are definitely not French. Now, the idea of eating golden indulgent food before Lent came from a mashup of sources. Roman influence, as they brought the flour, egg, milk combo to these shores. Pre-Christian Britain, where winter's end was marked with a ritual feast to survive the Hunger Gap. Anglo-Saxon England, where using up luxury foods before Lent became a liturgical act. So yes, it's not just that we accidentally invented Pancake Day. It's that Britain perfected the art of spiritually justifying a dessert for dinner type situation. And if that wasn't enough, we made it a sport. Because Pancake Day races are peak British energy. I mean, legend has it that one woman in 1445 in Olney, Buckinghamshire, lost track of time, and upon hearing the church bells, known as the Shriving Bell, which was calling people to confession, she panicked and ran out of her house and ran all the way to the church of St. Peter and St. Paul, holding her skillet, complete with that pancake and wearing her apron. This event is believed to be the origin of the annual Olney Pancake Race, which is still held on Shrove Tuesday. The race requires contestants to be local women wearing an apron and a hat or scarf who must run while tossing a pancake in a frying pan. And today we still have towns and cities across the UK doing full-on races with frying pans and aprons. Pancake Day races walked so that Sports Day could run, literally. But my favourite part in all of this is Shrovetide football. So imagine rugby. Now add in possessed by the spirits of folklore, mud, and midwinter madness. The entire town would show up. Shops would close, children would be told to stay indoors. Two teams, uppers and downers, would chase a ball through rivers, across fields, and over bridges. No one really knows when it started, but it just kind of stuck. Because Ashbourne in Derbyshire still keeps the tradition alive every year. So does Alnwick. Some parts of Scotland and Wales had their own versions too. I mean, it was ritualised wildness, a way to shake out winter and remember that you're still alive. And then after all of that comes the Stillness, Ash Wednesday. In early Christian Britain, priests would burn last year's palm crosses and mark your forehead with the ash, saying, "From dust you came, to dust you shall return." But long before that, British pagans celebrated Ash Wednesday as they saw it as a ritual of protection, warding off fire gods and evil spirits. Ash Wednesday wasn't just about guilt. It was about remembering that life is brief and may be sacred because of it. It was our soft entrance into Lent, not as punishment, but as a pause. And at the end of the month, we come to St. Walburga's Day. She was English, born in Devon, trained in Wimborne, and then sent to Germany where she became a healer, abbess, and folk legend. Her feast day is February 25th, and it sits right in the stretch between Shrovetide and early Lent. And she was associated with spring crops, healing oils, protection from plague, and soft, slow restoration. If Shrovetide is the storm, Walburga is the stillness. And just as February began to close off, another feast would once mark this moment, St. Matthias's Day, either on the 24th or the 25th, depending on which calendar you were using. He was the man who replaced Judas, the ultimate symbol of the divine second chance, and one of the most beloved and important feast days in Anglo-Saxon England, when monks would honour him as the patron of spiritual recommitment. arising from the ashes following betrayal. Both saints, Walburga and Matthias, were celebrated in Britain as markers of the invisible work, the internal healing, the turning from darkness to light. Because there was a time when February wasn't something to survive, it was something to mark. A month of clearing space in your cupboards, in your calendar, and in your spirit. You don't really do seasonal resets anymore. But this season, this strange little cluster of festivals and soft spiritual moments, was Britain's way of rebooting. And I still think that we need that. Not just the acts, but the reasons behind them. Because if we don't carry the meaning forward, the traditions will just keep thinning out until one day all we'll have left is a pancake. Now, let me know what you think about all of this below, which traditions you celebrate, and also what do you fill your pancake with? I'm a lemon and sugar kind of a gal personally, but I'd love to know what you think. And I'm going to be doing this for the rest of the year, reminding us of the country that we once were so that we can find a way to feel a bit like we're home. Thank you so much.